Yo, 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 guys. It is your boy, Rob the Rider. Wow. It feels very weird to be saying that. So, it's probably been about 3 or 4 years, and the very few of you that still watch these videos, very few, I have started other channels besides this that have become vastly more successful. Nothing like millions or anything like that, but vastly more successful than this one. But I did want to return to this channel because when I was into roller coasters, it lasted about 2 to 3 years. Then I took a huge break, like 3 years, didn't care about them at all, went to a few theme parks, which will show up on this list. And recently, my interest in roller coasters has had a resurgence of some sort. And it's very interesting to see this. But I thought, since coming back to this community, I'm kind of like a little bit more of a GP. GP means general public. You probably all know that if you are a roller coaster enthusiast. But I still obviously have the knowledge of my roller coasters, and I am still, when I ride a new coaster, I don't just ride it for fun, I analyze it, things like that. So I thought it would be amazing that, surprisingly, I didn't do a top 25 back in the old days, so I think we should do one now. So 25, and this one is pretty meaningful to me because, another huge thing, I moved. So I used to live in Northern California, specifically the Bay Area, and this was my home park. And this park meant a lot to me, California's Great America. And I saw this ride, Railblazer, be announced, be constructed, and finally it being finished and getting to ride it. And with the huge amount of hype these models have, I think people have overrated them. I have about 150 coaster credits, give or take. I haven't really checked in a long time, and I haven't added the new ones I have ridden. But this roller coaster, it is very intense, so it doesn't have any positive G or big amounts of positive G's. It's more focused on airtime and whippy transitions. But what I love about this roller coaster is just its fast, intense experience. But the reason it did not go higher, because this is an incredible ride, is just the duration. It is a very, very short ride. And honestly, I do not like the restraints that much. I think the capacity for these roller coasters is quite bad. I've also really recently, probably 5 weeks ago, ridden the Wonder Woman one at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. So I've experienced two of the original RMC Raptors. And I think I like this one a little more. That's why that one was edged out of this list. And also, this has more sentimental value for me because it was at my home park. 24, Tatsu. So this is a big one because one of the first parks I went to as an enthusiast, like not as a member of the general public, was Six Flags Magic Mountain. And for some reason, this was really one of the standouts. I don't think I talked about this when I had my channel and I was uploading consistently, but this ride is just the definition of fun. It's super fun just to be suspended underneath those cars, face downwards, and you can just see everything. And it's a nice kind of peaceful ride, a few inversions until you hit that pretzel knot. That is one of the most intense elements. You will be graying out on this element. It is not a lighthearted element. So that's why this made it at 24, slightly edging out Railblazer. 23, and this is a one that I think I have grown to like a little bit less because of the roughness, but I have been to Dollywood 2 times. That's a big thing you guys don't know. Back on the channel, I had not been to Dollywood twice, and I missed out on a very big roller coaster. You will see that later in the list that I got to ride, actually, which is crazy. But Thunderhead, so it's a GCI wooden coaster. I think this is one of the stronger GCI layouts. It has great whippy transitions. I do think it's gotten a little rough, but it's a wooden coaster, and that has to be expected. I just remember riding this on the 4th of July when there was fireworks in the sky. This was the last ride of the night, and it was an incredible experience, and firework rides and night rides are always incredible. Superman the Ride. So this is a tough one for me because when I originally rode this, I had my expectations very high. It's an Intamin hyper coaster, Intamin mega coaster actually, and I had very high expectations. The restraints are not the best because they had an accident a long time ago, so they had to change the restraints. And also, I think the layout is really strong. It's a really good layout. It starts with an out and back layout, and then it goes into a twister section. But I honestly felt this ride, it really showed its age, and it was a little rough. So that's why I didn't put it up higher. I got one ride on this. I just decided to ride Wicked Cyclone the rest of the day, another roller coaster at that park. And this ride, as much as people don't talk about it enough anymore. I think it kind of deserves that, and I think this ride has fallen off as one of the best coasters, but it's still 22 on my list, so obviously I would love to ride this thing again and get a second opinion. Oh, okay, this one. So, you guys, I had not been to Hershey Park before, and the funny thing is, I actually made a analysis of the POV of this roller coaster when it was first announced. This was the very end of my coaster days, and it was very weird getting to ride this roller coaster. And when I went to Hershey Park, which was about 2 years ago, I was really out of the coaster community. I was done with it probably for 1 or 2 years. So I was completely done with it. So I went to this park and just kind of rode them a little bit. I was actually in Pennsylvania to do another one of my hobbies, which is transformed into a YouTube channel also. But maybe I'll let you guys know about that someday. But Candymonium, so it's a good BM&M hyper. I really don't remember it too much, even though it wasn't that long ago, because obviously I wasn't being as analytical of roller coasters as I was back then. I was just kind of there for the fun ride. And the cool thing about this was the last roller coaster, like the first roller coaster of my new age of riding roller coasters. Like the last roller coasters I've ridden at that time period where I was an enthusiast, I was focused on credits. This one, I just kind of rode and just kind of enjoyed it for what it is, which made it 21. Wicked Twister. So this is the first roller coaster on this list from Cedar Point. Cedar Point was a magical experience. Even when I was way out of my coaster days, I still look back fondly on this trip and think about just how amazing it was. It's a basically kind of an island connected by a causeway in Lake Erie, and this island is magical. This park is magical. It is a bunch of roller coasters sitting on basically a pile of rocks on an island in the middle of Lake Erie, and it is incredible riding some of the best rides here. Wicked Twister was by far my favorite intimate impulse. An intimate impulse is when you hang onto the track, launch back and forth, if you don't know, but a lot of you probably know. And this one was by far the best. This one had very, very fast launches, obviously huge spikes twisting on both ends, and it is a sad shame that they removed this ride. I remember sitting in the Cedar Point Hotel looking out the window and seeing this ride and obviously getting to ride it later. So it's very sad that this ride was not relocated or anything like that, because honestly I miss this ride, and if I could go back riding it right now, I would. 19 is the Joker. So this roller coaster was probably my second home park besides Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, and this is Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. And the funny thing is, probably about 3 weeks ago, I actually drove by this park because we visited California again, and I did not get to ride any of the rides. It was closed that day, and we were doing other things. But looking at this park, I remembered how much fun I had at it, and I remembered my favorite ride there, which was the Joker. Obviously, this is from the prolific company RMC, producing some of the best rides, and this was a conversion of the roller coaster Roar. And a lot of people say this is one of the weaker RMC layouts, which is very true. It's definitely on the bottom tier, but this ride is so fun. It has incredible inversions. The airtime moments, while they aren't very many, they all hit hard and they're all very good. And I think this goes underrated in the coaster community. It's kind of like a weak RMC, bad coaster kind of thing, but it's very smooth. It's an RMC. Who's not to love it? And slightly edging out Joker, which I don't know if I would have said this before, is Gold Striker. Now, this one brings back memories. This is probably one of the roller coasters that I've ridden the most in my life because it was at my home park. And this was always my favorite ride at California's Great America. Definitely beating Railblazer. This was definitely one of the best GCIs. Incredible tunnel drop that was very intense. Many twister sections on this ride that are incredible. Pops of airtime, laterals, an incredible ride. And people say this ride has gotten rough, so I can't really comment on that because last time I rode it was probably, like 2018 or something, like 2019 maybe, and it was running just fine then. But now I would put this above Joker just because it's a longer ride and it brings me back to the old days. Storm Runner. Okay, so this is another one from Hershey Park, and this is my favorite type of roller coaster are launch coasters. And I said this before too. I was watching some of my old videos on this channel and I said that, and I stick by that. And I think this even became more true as I got out of roller coasters. I still love the launch ones. And this coaster, like your average intimate accelerator, it sends you up a top hat, brings you down, and you hit the brakes, or it does some bank turns. I loved how this roller coaster, You hit that top hat with great speed, and then you go into this insane inversion. Seen on the left of this right here. I don't know what it's called. I'm kind of out of the community by a lot, so I really don't know what that thing's called anymore. But that thing is insane. Like, it's a very high inversion. And then you do some things, and then you hit this crazy, like, double corkscrew thing. Sorry. I mean, I used to be knowledgeable on this stuff, but it's been a while. It feels like I still know a lot. But this ride is super thrilling start to finish, and I like how they added to the average intimate accelerator layout and added a bunch more elements that were all amazing. 16. Oh, okay, this one was a huge riser because this is Furius Baco at Portaventura. This park was incredible. My parents, we were on vacation in Spain. It was the last day, and they actually took me to surprise in this park. And this was like one of the height of my coaster days, so I was very excited to ride roller coasters. And this one blew me away. As I know, there are only 2 launch wing coasters in the world, Furius Baco and Thunderbird at Holiday World, I believe. But this is often said to be, and it is, the fastest accelerating launch wing coaster. This thing is insanely fast acceleration. Like, it is scary to be accelerating that fast while you're in the wing position. And then the rest of the ride is really fun too. You're diving throughout these kind of not these tunnels, but it's like carved out areas of the ground. So you really feel the speed. And then that final inversion at the end is super, super fun. It is one of my favorite inversions ever. And then you go across this water section and end the ride. It isn't super long ride, but I really think people underrate this and don't have high expectations for it. But this is really one of the best coasters in the world. Wing coasters especially. 15. So this park, this is insane. So this is a ride that does not get a lot of talk in the coaster community. Not because it's bad or anything. Most people do not get the opportunity to visit the UAE. And fortunately, I was given this opportunity. And this was when I was kind of out of my coaster days. That's why I never talked about any of these rides, because I wasn't making videos when I went to this park. But this roller coaster, so there's like 2 kind of major roller coasters there. One, if you count the turbo track or whatever inside. But this roller coaster is a Intamin wing coaster. Well, not wing. It's like kind of like a hyper coaster. Another one would be Sky Rush at Hershey Park, which unfortunately was closed when I went. I know, it's so annoying. But this summer, I'm going back, so hopefully I can get that credit. If I'm still care about roller coasters, this little brief moment where I'm caring about roller coasters, but I think I'll still go anyway just to ride it. But Flying Aces. So this ride, the one thing that was very disorienting about this ride was you started in complete darkness and you went outside into the Abu Dhabi heat and brightness, and you couldn't see anything going up that lift hill. And this is a super, super fast lift hill. It is a chain lift hill, or like a cable lift hill, Intamin cable lift, and it lifts you to the top super fast, and then you crest that drop with a ton of speed. I love that non-inverting loop right there, as you can see, that picture. And this ride had some great airtime, super whippy transitions. I love some of the whip this ride had. But honestly, people say this is number 1 at the park. I heavily disagree. I think there's a better number 1, which you will see later on the list. But this ride is incredible. I would do anything to be back riding Flying Aces. Kingda Ka. So this one, and this is an Intamin accelerator. This is the world's tallest roller coaster and the world's second fastest. This roller coaster is incredible. And the reason why I don't have this higher, because this is an incredible ride, I loved every second of it, insane launch, is a few things. The restraints, they're over-the-shoulder restraints, while other Intamin accelerators, such as Thrill Dragster, have the lap bars. And it does get a little rough at the end of that launch track, probably because of the shoulder restraints, kind of banging your head a little bit. But even with that, this ride is incredible. Like, you cannot match that height. When you're at the top of that top hat, it is just incredible. Plummeting down, hitting that airtime hill, which does give you a lot of airtime. I don't know why people say they don't get it. But this ride is so good, and it would definitely be higher if it wasn't for some of the others on this list. 13, and this is mostly a sentimental pick. This is Millennium Force. So when I was at Cedar Point, the one day I was there, it was kind of rainy. It was a dark, rainy day, and we were there for an ACE event, American Coaster Enthusiasts, and there was a scheduled ERT exclusive ride time or extended ride time or something like that on Steel Vengeance. But since that ride closed for whatever reason, I think they wouldn't run in the rain or some weird thing like that, even though Millennium Force is taller, the ERT was switched to Millennium Force. And I wrote this once during the day. I wasn't super impressed, but getting about 15, maybe 20 night rides on this thing, it was an hour ERT, really changed my opinion. Just hearing the station music, going up that cable lift hill, the drop is incredible in the back row. I can't even explain the whip you get over it. And there's really good experience of the airtime on this. This was probably the first coaster where I experienced airtime. It was so funny because I was sitting next to another coaster enthusiast, and I was talking to him on the way up. I was like, what is floater airtime versus ejector airtime? And then later on in the ride, when we hit that first floater airtime hill, he's like, this is floater airtime. And then I felt it, and then I could apply that knowledge to other roller coasters. But this one holds a big place in my heart. This ride, it may not be the most unique layout or have incredible airtime moments every second, but this ride is super sentimental. And if you get off this thing, you're going to have fun. There's no way around it. Ghost Rider. I need a trip back to Knott's Berry Farm. It's been a while. I've actually been twice, and Accelerator was closed both times, which encouraged me to ride Ghost Rider. This wooden coaster is absolutely insane. This ride is very, very fast. It has incredible airtime coming out of those hills, and it's actually very smooth because of the GCI retracking. I would love to be riding this thing again. I rode it with my dad a lot. I think I filmed a POV on this thing. It doesn't look like much. Like, I understand if you looked at this, it wouldn't look like one of the best coasters in the world. But in my opinion, it far exceeds Gold Striker in its forces and ride time. So this ride, it was incredible. I would love to be back here riding this thing. Maverick. Maverick is a ride that I rode once during the day. And this was actually the first roller coaster I rode at Cedar Point, I believe. And this thing is nuts. It is so crazy. I don't remember it too well, but I just do remember those launches being incredible. I remember the ejector airtime being incredible, the rapid transitions. And I would love a re-ride on this just to experience it again. But this Intamin Blitz is honestly incredible, and it's one of the best rides I've ever ridden for whippy and transitions. It might even be the best. This ride is nuts, and it's a force to be reckoned with. 10, El Toro. And I've heard this ride, too, has been closed for some crazy mechanical issues, structural issues. Very sad. But this is another ride that I rode in the morning, so maybe it would be a little higher if I rode it at a different time after it's warmed up. But obviously, you can't ignore the stats on this thing. It is a huge, huge wooden coaster. One of the very rare Intamin prefabricated wooden coasters. And to me, it looks like the best. Maybe T-Express in South Korea might be a little better. But this one is incredible. Those first camelbacks, oh my goodness, ejected out of your seat so much. And the rest of the ride is actually not too good for me. Like, there's the Rolling Thunder Hill, which is a really good ejector airtime moment, but it's kind of meanders a little bit. There's like a turnaround, but the airtime moments on this really hit hard. And if you want insane ejector airtime on a wooden coaster, I really don't know where to go besides this one. This one is amazing. Twisted Colossus. So this is another one from Magic Mountain, and this one I would love a re-ride on. I actually am going to go with some of my friends to this park, I think eventually. They are not coaster enthusiasts at all. But it's going to be fun. Twisted Colossus, yeah. I think this was the first RMC roller coaster I ever rode. And this is a great RMC to start with. This has such a good layout. It doesn't look like much from here. I don't know. It doesn't look as good as it is. But you get to go around both sides in one ride, the blue and the green, with the Mobius loop. And this ride, it was so good. It had so much airtime. The inversions were all amazing. I did not get a dueling ride with the other side, but if I got that, I think it would even rise higher. But this ride has such an ingenious layout, and it's just amazing to look at. Look at that color scheme. It's incredible. 8, Wicked Cyclone. So maybe I wouldn't have put this above this before. Maybe I would have. But Wicked Cyclone is just a ride that it's not even a big layout. Like, it's not a... they had a short plot of land to work with the old Cyclone, but this by far was the most impressive ride for me at Six Flags New England. Like, Ride of Steel, or not Ride of Steel, Superman the Ride, I was disappointed with. So that led me to basically ride this thing all day. And this thing is so fun. I got so many rides on it. And I literally kept riding it. Such a good layout. It has 3 different laps. There's like a double down that provides great airtime. This ride really focused on the airtime and the inversions. And honestly, this coaster is nuts. Like, I'm so excited. I think I will get to ride this ride again if I go college hunting in New England, which is crazy because when I first recorded these videos, I was not thinking about college at all. But this ride, I would love to be back on this, and I just have such fond memories of it. Red Force, another one from Portaventura World. I guess this is the Ferrari Land, which is right next to it, but it's the same park. Come on, guys. I mean, you have to pay a little extra to get in, but this right here is an Intamin accelerator, and actually, yes, it is an Intamin accelerator. I think it's 384 feet tall, so it's not a strata, or not 384. It's something up there. Something up there, 300. I don't know. My stats are getting off, but this roller coaster uses an LSM launch instead of a hydraulic launch. And the good thing about this is that probably doesn't mean a lot for you if you don't know a lot about roller coasters, but if you do know a lot about roller coasters, this means this launch, you roll into it, and it has a lot more reliability than these hydraulic launch coasters. So this thing was open the whole day. I could keep riding it. And it didn't have this twisting drop like some of these Intamin accelerators. And I actually kind of like that better. And Red Force is very smooth. It was kind of a next-gen Intamin track design. It obviously looks fantastic. Seeing the Ferrari logo on something that big is just incredible. And this ride really shows the capability of the LSM launches and possibly refurbishing something like Top Thrill Dragster, as sad as that is to see that closed. And speaking of Top Thrill Dragster, number 6 is Top Thrill Dragster. And this made me sad because I was looking on the news. Like, I remember when I was far out of my coaster days, I think my parents sent me a article about someone getting struck by something on this ride, and I was like, that is really unfortunate. Well, I got to ride that a long time ago, but that's interesting. But I didn't really think about it that much. But it turns out that was the last time this coaster would operate. And this is very sad. This ride was one of the main reasons going to Cedar Point. This was by far the tallest roller coaster I'd ridden at that point, second tallest in the world. And the fact that this roller coaster does not exist in this current form is sad. It had the lap bars, which were way better than the over-the-shoulder restraints on this ride. The launch was incredible. It was very smooth, too, unlike something like Kingda Ka. That's why I cherish this ride more. But I got one ride in the front row, and this ride is amazing. The thrill you get on this, it really is a Top Thrill Dragster. But I don't care that it's short. This ride brings back so many memories, and probably one of my favorite launch coasters. Well, it is. 5. Fury 325, and I was kind of known for being a hater of this ride, which is kind of ridiculous. This ride is super fun. And I think the reason why I didn't like this ride as much as I thought was because of the hype I built up for it. I built this up. I was thinking that this was going to be my number 1 roller coaster ever. And when it wasn't, when I got off, I was disappointed. But going back here when I wasn't as much as an enthusiast, I really, I got to go to this park twice. I really realized how good this ride is. And it's not like airtime centric or anything like that, but it's just a fun ride, kind of like Millennium Force, but a better layout. And there is some great airtime moments, some great things like the hive dive under the tunnel, things like that. This ride is a force to be reckoned with. But slightly going on top of it is a coaster a lot smaller, actually. Not a lot, but a little bit. This is Shambala. And this is a huge riser for me just because of how good this ride was. So many people riding B&M Hypers, they probably really like it, but some of them wouldn't even crack the top 25. And people often see this ride and they'll think, how is this so much different? This ride is way better than any B&M Hyper I've ridden by like a long shot. And the reason, and I've ridden rides such as Candymonium, Diamondback, Intimidator, things like that. But this one was so much better because first the theming was great, like in the station and everything. There was tunnels you dive through. The drop was incredible. Every airtime hill on this is incredible. Like the B&M Hypers, it kind of provides that weak floater. This one provided great sustained floater airtime, even moments of ejector airtime where you're completely coming out of your seat. I kept getting off this ride, running back to go on this ride again. This ride is what you want in a roller coaster. It's big, fast, tall, lots of airtime, an incredible turnaround. Like, this is the premier B&M Hyper layout, and it really shows because this ride is second to none when it comes to B&M Hypers and coasters in general. It made it all the way up to top 4, which kind of surprises me, but more I think about it, it's not that crazy. 3. This is a ride, one of my most anticipated rides ever, and this is from Ferrari World, and this is Formula Rossa. And for a while, I was thinking about putting this at number 1. The launch on this roller coaster is inexplainable. Well, I'll try to explain it, but to anything in the U.S. Because the fastest thing here in the U.S., obviously, is Kingda Ka, the green roller coaster that I showed before. And in this, it feels similar to that launch. Like, it's obviously a very punchy launch. You feel very fast going down the track. But the thing about this launch, oh my gosh. Once you reach, like, the Kingda Ka speed, it's probably like 3/4 down the launch track on this one. But then you just feel this boost that comes in. And it absolutely accelerates you so much faster. And at the end of the launch track, it feels dangerous how fast you're going. It is absolutely crazy. And people say, do you really feel the speed on this? Like extra speed compared to Kingda Ka? Yes, you do. This thing is an absolute monster of speed. And the thing I love about this roller coaster compared to all these other instrument accelerators, it ascends this like airtime hill, which it does have trim brakes on it, takes it a little bit off the speed. But it has a complete layout after it with a bunch of banked turns, airtime hills, which do provide airtime. And I think this ride is almost underrated because people don't really see the beauty of it. And it has an amazing layout coupled with the fastest launch in the world with airtime. This ride, I kind of want to put it at number 1. But objectively, if I think, would I rather ride these two coasters ahead of it? I would. But this was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And, this is like me in a roller coaster. Super fast launch, airtime. Number 2. Okay. So, when I exited the community, Steel Vengeance was all the rage. It was the best ride in the world. And while I still agree with that, even looking at the rides in the world now, people try to see like Iron Gwazi and stuff like that as being better than this ride. And I think that's just new coaster bias. I still believe objectively in the world, this is the best roller coaster. It's super long. It is a very long roller coaster. Tons and tons and tons of airtime. Incredible inversions. Weaving in and out of the structure. You have big moments. You have small moments. This is a perfect roller coaster. It is smooth. It has everything that you would want. And now I think people are trying to put this lower just to act cool or whatever. But for me, the reason why this didn't make it to number 1 is because something above it that I've been wanting to ride for a long time. I was very disappointed that I could not go to this park and ride it. And this, I got to ride it. This is Lightning Rod. Yes. I finally got to ride it. This ride is me in a roller coaster. I always said my favorite roller coasters were launches, but I still put Steel Vengeance ahead of all those because I had the airtime, I had the crazy things like that. But Lightning Rod started off with an incredible uphill launch, incredible G-forces on this, and you're launching on a wooden roller coaster. And yes, I did ride this when it was wooden, not when it was hybrid. Cresting that hill, you get airtime. You go get airtime into the drop, and it was not rough at all when I rode it. That wave turn after the drop is one of the best elements on any coaster. That is so incredible. I can't even imagine a better element. You're literally sideways, getting airtime, looking at the Smoky Mountains all around you. It is so good. The rest of the layout has incredible banking, a bunch of airtime, and then my favorite sequence on any roller coaster by far, the quadruple down. I don't even think this gets a lot of hype. I don't even think it gets enough hype. 4 back-to-back airtime hills, coming down a mountain, twisting while in the airtime. It is, honestly, I can't even believe it. I could not even believe it doing that. Like, I could not even believe it. And as I went to the brake run, I think my mom said I was crying or something like that, because I was just so excited to finally get on this ride. As you know, it is plagued with downtime. The first time I visited, I could not get on it, and I was super happy to get on this ride. And it exceeded my expectations. I thought it would probably be 4th, maybe 2nd on my list behind Steel Vengeance. But now, maybe back then, I would have put Steel Vengeance ahead of this. But now, being kind of like a retired coaster enthusiast, I do believe that this is my number 1 roller coaster. It's everything I'd want in a roller coaster. Incredible environment also. Incredible park. Like, some of these parks you just don't want to go back to, but except for the roller coasters. This park, you could sit in there all day and just have fun. Dollywood is just incredible. But that brings us to our end. And I don't even know if anyone will watch this. If you are watching this, that's awesome. But it's very weird to be making one of these types of videos again. And it's very weird to return to a passion of mine, because I've had a lot of passions like this before, like roller coaster stuff like that, and I haven't returned to them. This is the only one I've ever had a slight interest in returning to. And I'm not going to be pumping out videos or anything like that. In all honesty, this is probably going to be the last video, unless you guys kill it, show support. But I really wanted to make this video more for myself in the future, just to see, like, my thoughts on it at the time, and just for sentimental value. But it's crazy doing this. And I wish everybody the best in the coaster community. I left for a while. Obviously, I wasn't a force. I was a small channel. But, I mean, I don't think they missed me or anything crazy like that. But it's interesting to... It's actually nice to go back to the community, watch some YouTubers, and they're still doing their thing. And they're still pumping out these videos. And it's very nice to see that, because I don't want this community to die out. This was a big part of my life, and still is a little bit. I mean, I'm not in the community anymore, obviously. I don't ride roller coasters. I moved to a state where there's 2 roller coasters, so come on, there's not going to be too much roller coaster content. But I just want to thank the coaster community for giving me some of the best times. And this list felt to me as like a fitting conclusion to everything. But I hope you guys the best. I have a football game to get to. But, wow. I hope you enjoyed this video. Wow. Thank you guys for watching. It was fun making one final video. Or maybe I'll come back. You never know.